Osiris-9 drifted in the abyss, a lonely research station orbiting Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It was designed to be a symbol of human progress, a self-sustaining outpost for deep space exploration. For years, it had stood alone in the darkness, its crew carrying out their work in the silence of space. But that silence was about to be shattered. Inside the control deck, Lieutenant Commander Elias Voss monitored the long-range sensors. Years of experience had taught him that space was predictable. Any anomaly was usually the result of a malfunction, a drifting rock, or an atmospheric disturbance. But when the holographic display flickered and a faint pulse appeared at the edge of the radar, something felt wrong. Across the room, Dr. Lena Cade, the station's lead astrophysicist, studied the disruption. Data flickered across her console. Unfamiliar, inconsistent. It wasn't solar interference. It wasn't debris. It was something else. Then the station trembled. At first, the vibration was barely noticeable, as if something distant had stirred the metal beneath them. Then the alarms blared. The emergency lights bathed the control deck in deep red as bold warnings flashed across the monitors.
Unidentified object detected. Proximity breach. Impact incoming.
The first impact struck before anyone could react. A hollow metallic boom echoed through the station's structure, sending unsecured objects drifting as artificial gravity momentarily flickered. Then came the second strike. Harder, more deliberate. In engineering, Chief Technician Jared O'Malley clutched a railing, his breath sharp as he braced for another impact. His hands flew across the control panel, attempting to stabilize the failing systems. The reactor readings spiked erratically. Something was attacking the station. Through the viewport, beyond the shattered fragments of an external communications array, something moved. It wasn't debris. It wasn't an asteroid. It was alive. The emergency lockdown engaged, sealing off critical sections of the station. Osiris-9's automated turrets whirred to life, scanning for movement. But the station's security AI couldn't process what it was up against. The creatures moved with an unnatural fluidity, twisting their bodies to evade detection, slipping through blind spots in the station's defenses. The first fatality came within minutes. A security officer stationed near the primary airlock was the first to encounter them. A shadow shifted in the corridor. His body went weightless, dragged into the darkness of the ventilation shafts. A single streak of blood trailed in the air before vanishing into the void. Voss pushed himself through the corridor, his pulse pistol drawn. He had seen combat before, but nothing like this. The station's corridors, now bathed in flickering emergency lights, stretched into infinite shadows. The walls groaned as unseen intruders moved through the vents, their presence signaled by the faintest of scraping sounds. From the observation deck, Cade saw them clearly for the first time. They moved without sound. Elongated, four-limbed creatures, their black exoskeletons reflecting the dim emergency glow. They had no eyes, only smooth, featureless masks. They moved with terrifying precision, using the zero gravity to their advantage, twisting and rebounding off the walls as if space itself bent to their will. The station's AI-controlled turrets fired. The rounds hit nothing but metal. Then, chaos. The creatures struck all at once, emerging from the darkness in coordinated attacks. One seized a technician, its elongated fingers locking around his throat. Another launched from the ceiling, twisting midair as it intercepted a fleeing crew member. Screams filled the comms as the creatures hunted them, studying them, adapting to their weapons and tactics. O'Malley, still in engineering, fought to reroute power to the failing defense grid. Sparks burst from the panels as the station's systems overloaded under the strain. Then, the lights failed completely. Total blackout. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Then, the comms crackled to life. A voice, deep, guttural, inhuman, reverberated through the station.
Humans, you are not alone.
The realization struck all at once. This was not an accident. This was a test. Voss knew what had to be done. The station was lost, but the creatures could not be allowed to reach Earth. He had one final card to play, the reactor core. If he could trigger a controlled overload, Osiris-9 would be incinerated along with everything inside it. But he wasn't alone in the fight. Cade, now in the station's emergency control hub, rerouted auxiliary power to the gravity systems. A pulse surged through the station, stabilizing the artificial gravity for brief moments, just enough to disorient the creatures, forcing them to fight on human terms. O'Malley and the remaining security team fought their way through the corridors, using the shifting gravity pulses to push forward. The creatures hesitated for the first time. They had underestimated their prey. The final phase of the plan began. The reactor's safety protocols disengaged, a countdown initiated. If the creatures had learned to anticipate human tactics, they were about to learn the cost of underestimating human resolve. As the last surviving crew members reached the escape pods, the enemy made one final push. The station trembled violently as external pressure increased. Their ships were attempting to breach the hull directly. They had no intention of letting anyone leave alive. But it was already too late. Osiris-9's core reached critical mass. In a final, brilliant burst of energy, the reactor detonated. A silent explosion tore through the void, engulfing the station in a blinding fireball. Shockwaves scattered debris across Titan's orbit, consuming everything in its path. The creatures, along with their ships, vanished in the inferno. Floating in the escape pod, Cade stared at the wreckage through the viewport, her breathing slow and steady. The station was gone, but Earth was safe. Then, the distress beacon flickered. A weak signal, barely detectable, came through the pod's communication system. A new blip appeared on the long-range scanners. Rescue ships. They had survived. As the pod drifted toward the approaching fleet, one final thought lingered in the silence. This was only the beginning. The creatures had been watching, testing and learning. They knew humanity could fight back. And they would be back.